I think we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen and hopefully this will work. I want to thank Brendan Casey, who's serving as tech support for this conversation that we're going to have together. So appreciate that. And I'll just start with stating the obvious, which is I know we would all, much prefer to be together in person in New Orleans this week. Obviously we had to make the decision and in retrospect, the right decision to cancel the conference. But I'm really thrilled to let you know, and you probably all saw this, that we've been able to negotiate with the hotel in New Orleans, and we'll be there next year. So I think it's a week later, so it'll be even more amazing for the year that we've been apart, and we'll, I guess, be able to still use the same logo for the conference, the saxophone, as it were. Before we get too far into this, I want to just make a couple of housekeeping suggestions to everyone. So the first is that there will be some opportunity for sharing, but I'd ask everyone to mute unless you're speaking with, I think we have more than 40 people on the call, so it'll just be better audio quality for everyone if we can remember to do that. And there is a chat function in Zoom. I'm not sure how many of you might be using it for the first time, but if you wave your mouse or mouse equivalent along the bottom of the Zoom screen, various things should show up, including a chat feature. So if you're having any technical issues or you have a comment or question about anything that I'm sharing with you, feel free to put it in the chat function, and Brendan will be monitoring that to make sure that nobody's having technical difficulties. I want to also mention that in sharing my screen, if you'd like the video to show the little ribbon of either myself speaking or a group of people, you can position that over on the right-hand side. But some of the text does also go on the right-hand side, so you might want to scroll over and just select the item that says show small active speaker video. And that should do it. And then I'm going to be using the breakout feature on Zoom, which we tried this morning, and it was really very successful. So we're going to be doing that 2 times, and when we do, I'd invite you, even if you otherwise are not on audio, if you could share audio and also unmute yourselves in the breakout rooms. I think most of them are around 4 or 5 people, and just so that we can, come together as a community to the best of our abilities under the circumstances. I'll invite all of you to do that. I think at this point, nobody cares what we're all wearing or whether we've gotten our hair done recently or anything like that. So, and then finally, I've mentioned already, we're trying this out for the first time today, and we're really looking for your feedback on how this goes for you. If it's successful, we've been thinking about maybe hosting like once a week a time for folks to come together during this time when we're apart physically, and perhaps having a facilitated conversation on a topic once a week that might be of interest. So please share your feedback with us at the end of this, and if you have topics you'd like to see us facilitate a conversation around, by all means make that suggestion, or if there's something that you would like to facilitate a conversation around as well, please feel free to speak up. And then last thing, just to note that we are recording this, so we want to have it available to share with people who weren't available today to join one of the 3 calls. And I always like to mention that just so people know that we are on a recorded line, as the expression goes. All right, well, with that, you know, there's nothing that people tell us they value more at our annual conference than the opportunity to come together as a Clubhouse community. I'm going to be sharing in a little bit the results from the survey that we all participated in back in, I guess, November, early December, I think it was, of last year. And that came through loud and clear in that that, you know, coming together as a community and the opportunity for community building and skill building and peer-to-peer networking is something that we all value. And given that we can't do that physically, we thought we would try to, you know, create a version of that here on this call together as we kick off this hour. And so with Brendan's help, what we're going to do is break everyone into breakout rooms for just 5 minutes of sharing, just to check in around your name, your Clubhouse, your location, and then, you know, how are you doing with all of this on, you know, a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is this is a struggle, and I am having some difficulties, to, you know, we're doing pretty well here where we're at. So it's just a chance again to kind of connect with a subset of the people who are on this call together. It looks like we have almost 60 people on the call. So with that, I'm going to invite Brendan to go ahead and place us into breakout rooms, and we'll spend about 5 minutes there and then come back together and continue on with some information about the state of the network. All right, well, nice to see everyone coming back. You never, you know, you always worry when you send people off if they're going to come back. So I'm glad to see everybody coming back. I'm going to share my screen again here. There we go. So great. Well, let's see. Looks like everyone is back. So well, thank you for that. I hope that just gave you a feel for, you know, who else is in the room with us together in the virtual room as we continue this conversation. So some of you may know, you know, every year I give a state of the network address, as it were. And so this year is the first time I'm giving it virtually. Hold on a second, just having a little technical difficulty. There we go. And, you know, really what I want to start with, I feel like for a lot of us, given everything that's been happening, 2019 feels like it was, you know, a century ago, but it was just a few months back. And I think it's important that we honor and celebrate the success of all that we experienced in 2019. It really was a great year. We had a lot of growth, recognition, community building, and partnerships. And I want to just kind of touch briefly on each of these 4 themes, and then I'll talk a little bit about the strategic plan that is underway and how that looks like it's beginning to shape up. And we'll then go back into breakout rooms for some conversation about that. So first, just about 2019. So this is a snapshot of our community as it exists today. We're in 20 countries. We have 109 locations. I think there are 47 clubhouses and teen tech centers in the US. 67, 42 outside the US. And we added 2 countries in the past year. Turkey, we have a new clubhouse in Turkey. Those of you who are good at geography can see that on the map. And also Japan. So really, really exciting to have those 2 countries join our network. I know I say this every year, but I want to acknowledge that we also lost a few clubhouses in the past year. And, you know, just want to acknowledge that if there's an organization that is not really embracing the Clubhouse learning model, is kind of going in a different direction or has different priorities for whatever reason, I feel like it's best to come to that mutual decision that maybe this isn't a fit for them. Because I think the last thing that any of us would want is for, someone to visit a clubhouse and not see going on in a clubhouse or teen tech center what we believe in terms of the learning approach and in terms of the values that we hold dear. So we have lost a couple of clubhouses over the past year, but we're 109 locations strong as of the end of March. And here is the list of all of the new clubhouses and teen tech centers that opened in the past year. I don't think I missed anybody. We have a couple of clubhouses as well that are in the making in the coming months, convening, permitting, that are listed here as well. And these are all thanks to very strong local partners that are listed here, as well as support from Best Buy and other investment partners that Best Buy is also bringing to the Clubhouse network. And actually, even this list isn't complete because there's an open request for proposals, even as we speak, in 4 additional cities: Oklahoma City, Gary, Indiana, Memphis, Tennessee, and Little Rock, Arkansas. And so if you know organizations in those cities, or even if you just know people in those cities, please help get the word out, because we're looking for strong local community organizations like the ones that all of you represent to bring into the Clubhouse family as well. And while I'm expressing appreciation to Best Buy for their sponsorship and support that is allowing all of this growth to take place, I also want to thank all of you, because the reasons that new clubhouses come about is because of the great work that you're doing and the ambassadorship that each of you offers when visitors come to visit your clubhouse, or when people meet Clubhouse members who talk about the experience that they had in your clubhouse. That is what leads people to our doors to say, well, that's great, I visited this amazing place, it was very inspiring, but how do I bring one of these to my community? And so the more success we have, the more success we will continue to have. And again, it all comes back to the work that each of you are doing in your local communities day in and day out. So thank you for that. And I want to point out that Best Buy's support to the network goes beyond just providing seed funding to support new clubhouses. So Best Buy's support to the network includes, not only new clubhouses, including in Mexico and Canada, that are going to be opening in the next year, but also sponsorship of our signature gatherings, whether annual conference or Teen Summit. The Reach Media Festival Award prizes this year are sponsored 100% by Best Buy. Partnership opportunities that Best Buy brings our way, community grants, the Geek Squad Academies. I could just go on and on. And so I just want everyone to recognize, whether you're at a Best Buy Teen Tech Center or you're at a clubhouse, all of you are part of the Clubhouse network, and Best Buy's support really is benefiting each and every one of us. And in spite of the current challenge that we're all facing, both as individuals and communities and businesses, Best Buy has reassured us of their commitment and dedication to the network. And in light of the impact that the coronavirus pandemic is having on all of us, I think we would all just want to express our appreciation to Best Buy and its leadership for their unwavering support and commitment to the work that each of you are doing day in and day out. So a big thank you to Best Buy. So I mentioned growth, recognition comes in many different forms. And one of the things I just wanted to remind everyone of is that, we won the Presidential Award for STEM Mentoring Excellence last, I think it was October. And, this is the nation's highest honor in mentoring. And so it's a really big deal to win this award. It helps even more to put us on the map. And brings credibility to the work that we're doing in terms of impact, in terms of the quality of the mentoring that's taking place, and in terms of the significance and potential for wider implementation, which are the criteria by which we were selected. And I think we will see the benefits of this award continue to come in the months and years to come. And I would encourage all of you. This is award that the Clubhouse Network received, but it really is a testimony to the work that each of you does every day in terms of mentoring youth. So if you haven't been showcasing this on your website or on your Facebook page, please consider adding it, because it's to your credit and something that you deserve to be getting recognition for as well. Also in the form of recognition, this is just a really small snapshot that Jake, our marketing and communication manager, put together of all of the press that each of you have received around the world in the past year for the work that you're doing. And I want to thank all of you for being in conversation with your local media and local journalists, so that when you deserve that recognition, when your young people deserve that recognition, you're getting it. And in addition to this, we've been adding pretty much every month to the alumni spotlights that hopefully all of you have been seeing. And I would encourage you now, as you're many of us are home, think about alumni who have been through the doors of your clubhouse, who would really be appropriate for us to include in the alumni spotlights, so we can lift up their stories and the impact that the clubhouse has had on their lives and the amazing things that they're doing now. So if you have alumni that you'd like us to know about, please feel free to reach out to Jake or to me, or really anyone on the network staff, to let us know about them. We can help you interview them and get a story up on our website, or we can interview them ourselves, whichever is easier for you. We also this past year created a web page on our site for each of you to provide greater consistency across the network, so that there's kind of a one-stop shop place for people to go to learn about the work that's taking place around the world, and help make sure that all of our locations are getting the visibility that you deserve. So I would just encourage you to continue to share content with us, and keep us in mind. We try to find as many of these as we can, but we don't find all of them with our Google alerts. So when you do get local recognition, please feel free to let us know, so that we can help showcase that as well. The Global Reach Media Festival serves many purposes, but one of them is to bring more recognition to young people who are doing such amazing work all around the world. This was is our 5th year, and hopefully many of you have had a chance to watch the media award video that Jeff Arthur put together, along with a lot of help from others. That went live, I think, at 1 p.m. Eastern time today. What I'm especially proud of, in addition to the winners, is just the amount of participation there was this past year. So we had 48 clubhouses submit projects, which is just about half of all clubhouses submitted projects, and many clubhouses submitted many projects. So thank you to all of you. We had 578 projects submitted, which is up. I think that the first year we did this was under 200. So we're definitely growing in terms of representation, and we had almost 10,000 votes. Again, many people outside the Clubhouse community voted as well. So a way to kind of lift up youth voices and get the word out about the amazing thing that's going on in each of your clubhouses. And as Jeff Arthur said in the video that many of you have probably already seen, it's not too early to be thinking about 2021. And I could think of ways in which virtually reaching out to young people in your respective clubhouses now could get the balls rolling, the wheels turning around what a Reach project might look like for 2021. you know, beginning to plot out a storyboard, thinking about a theme for a photo journal or photo essay. So even though, you know, the ink is not even dry on this year's Global Reach Media Festival, please start thinking about next year, and hopefully you'll find inspiration in all of the amazing youth work that's posted on the Clubhouse Reach website. Turning to community building, you know, when Clubhouse Connect came out, was launched last year, and I'm sharing here a screenshot from Clubhouse Connect, I think from last week. I mean, who would have imagined that we would be in the position we find ourselves in, where that ability to come together virtually as a community is more important than ever. At last count, we had, I think, 320 people who have joined Clubhouse Connect from across our network. And I want to just express my appreciation to everyone who's been contributing. There have been, you know, great ideas from all over the world around ways to engage with young people, whether it's virtual outreach or a virtual career fair or virtual programming. So thank you to all of you, and let's continue to use Clubhouse Connect in that way in the coming weeks and months. And know that at the Clubhouse Network level, we will be also continuing to engage with all of you through this resource, and eventually adding mentors to the community as well, so that we can be really a one-stop shop for everyone looking for resources and wanting to start discussions with others across their own local community and across the world. Also on the community building front, I just wanted to recall and express appreciation for those who hosted regional workshops last year. There's an image here from the Latin America regional group that convened in Panama last October, I think, and earlier in the year, the South African clubhouses that all came together in Johannesburg. And there were many others as well. And, you know, I think now, especially in light of not being able to come together for our annual conference for the first time ever, these feel more important than ever. And I hope we can look for ways in the coming weeks to sustain a sense of community within our regions, as well as across the network as a whole, as we think about whether it's, you know, convening youth in regional clusters or local clusters virtually, or as a region. But a special shout out to all of those who hosted these regional workshops or led workshops or led sessions at the workshops, participated in the workshops, and came together as a community. And then finally, just partnerships. You know, the Best Buy partnership I mentioned already is strong and growing. And in addition, there is a growing global partnership with Facebook that is really a tribute, again, to the success that those of you who have been participating with Facebook have already had. So like many things, you know, Facebook, we really got their attention with the Engineer for the Week activities that took place last year in many of your clubhouses, including the participation of Preta 18 in Argentina, which is pictured here on the right. And as a result, Facebook has approached us about expanding the partnership in a more formal way across Latin America, and also in conjunction with our Teen Summit, which we hope now will take place in 2021. So, you know, more to follow from this. Jeff Arthur and I met with Facebook last week, and they're very eager to continue to figure out how to engage with us on a virtual basis in the coming weeks and months, and then hopefully, you know, back together in person just as soon as possible. But what I value about this partnership is really the opportunity to introduce to more young people aspects of computer science and computer engineering that have to do with social good and have to do with programming with purpose, as it were, and also giving a chance for young people to connect with Facebook computer scientists and engineers whereas perhaps previously, that isn't the kind of opportunity that they have had. So this is, again, something available to us globally, and I'd encourage you to look for more information about it if you aren't already participating, and think about whether this might be a fit with your members. Also on the partnership front, I hope I'm not jinxing this by mentioning it now, but we're putting the final throws on a proposal to the Department of Justice, the US Department of Justice, that would expand our impacts program. So that stands for Increasing Mentor Participation and Commitment to Success. I think that sums up in a nutshell what this work is all about. And we're currently working with 10 clubhouses across the US, Impact 2.0. So we've had this partnership with the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention at the Department of Justice for the past 6 years. And we're asking for a renewal of this grant that would allow us to expand it potentially to another 8 locations. With a focus in this year through the grant specifications, in particular on working with youth who are affected by drug addiction in their families and their communities, and also youth with an incarcerated parent or family member. So this will build on our prior work. Fingers crossed, this is something we'll be able to launch in early 2021. Jen Burgoyne, with the group of 10 impact sites that I know several of which are on the call today, have really been laying the foundation for success for this, so that I'm feeling very positive and very optimistic about this. And we will keep you all posted as information and feedback comes to us from the Department of Justice. And then finally, on the partnership front, I wanted to announce that we have been hearing from many of you that you would like to see expanded Clubhouse board representation on a global basis, and that's also just in terms of inclusivity and representation. And so I'm thrilled to share with you that Anneli Davids, who is with the Saibono Discovery Center in Johannesburg, which has been a host for a Clubhouse site for, well, since I think 2012, has joined our board. He participated in his first board meeting yesterday. And also yesterday, the board elected Aman Milner, who is an associate professor at Olin College and a longtime friend and colleague of the Clubhouse network, as our new board chair. So Aman was formerly a student of Mitchell Resnick at the MIT Media Lab. Even before that, he was a mentor at several clubhouses through his undergraduate days, and is just a really strong advocate for ensuring that people of color, people from underrepresented populations see themselves in careers in science, technology, engineering, and math, and that there is greater inclusivity and representation in all of the fields that young people who leave clubhouses end up in. So I think he'll be just an outstanding board chair, and I'm looking forward to all of your meeting him. He was going to be our keynote speaker at the conference in New Orleans. Maybe we will save him for next year, or maybe we will invite him to one of these virtual chats so you can meet him before then. So that's 2019 kind of in a nutshell. I mean, obviously a lot of other things took place that I'm not doing justice to, but for the next 10 minutes or so, I just want to talk a little bit about the strategic planning process that we kicked off, as many of you will remember, toward the, I guess, November, December timeframe of last year. And what that really has involved is, first of all, sort of taking stock of where we are with Clubhouse 2020, which is the last strategic plan that we had done back in 2015. And then we did what's called a SWOT analysis. So just looking at strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. We did this internally and together with the board. And then we reached out for a lot of input, including a survey that we did with all of you again last November, December, that I want to share some of the early findings from with you in just a minute. And we're now in the process kind of putting together priorities with a 5-year focus, and now layering in on top of that what the impact of coronavirus, the coronavirus pandemic has on our future planning. But let me start by just sharing a little bit from the survey that we did late last year. I want to start by just saying thank you, because we heard from 104 of you with a lot of diversity in the representation from all of the different clubhouses and teen tech centers around the world. So, you know, 1/3 of the respondents have been with the network for over 5 years. More than half of the organizations that were represented in the respondents have been with the network for 5 years. And then we also had the opportunity for some fresh perspective from, you know, people who are newer, who maybe are coming to us from other youth agencies or other kinds of community backgrounds. And more than 1/3 of the responses were from outside the United States, which is, you know, roughly proportionate with our footprint. So you folks from outside the United States, you represented well. So thank you to all of you. And some of you may remember filling out this survey. You know, one of the first things we asked you about was, what external factors do you feel will or should influence our future direction? And we gave you, you know, a variety of things to choose from. And this is what you came back with to us. So, you know, a lot of strength around the notion that there will be continued innovation in technology, whether it's virtual reality or artificial intelligence, machine learning. There will be continued changes in the workplace that ought to influence our future direction and how we're preparing Clubhouse members for those changes. There will sadly be continued racism and marginalization and continued inequalities and inequities in the society in which we live, and that we need to be giving thought to how we best prepare Clubhouse youth for those circumstances, and how best to navigate the challenges associated with those circumstances. And then there will be innovations not only in education, but also in the work, in the ways in which the workforce is developed. And so, you know, I'll share in a little bit how all of this informed our future thinking. But the other, this is only, you know, the second of 2 charts I'm going to share with you, and then I will be following up with more data just to give you more feedback on what we heard from all of you in the coming weeks. But we also asked you how the characteristics that are listed here contribute to what you see as the impact of the Clubhouse on your members, on the youth who participate day in and day out. And, you know, by far what we heard from you is that providing a safe place for youth is above and beyond anything else the most important characteristic. And it's followed also by providing a place for young people who might otherwise be isolated in their communities, in school, in their families, providing them a place to connect. And also the Clubhouse learning model and the innovative technology associated with that. So all of these ranked really high, and you know, a lot of food for thought in this during this time when we're all in social isolation, social distancing, in terms of how we can continue to provide that safe place for youth and a place for isolated youth to connect. But I want to just sort of, you know, shares the overall takeaways from the survey were a lot of appreciation for the commitment and the work of the Clubhouse network, its learning model, the sense of community, the longevity and track record that the network has now celebrating, I think 27 years, partnerships with Best Buy and others, and the kind of community building events that typically bring us together, like the annual conference and teen summit. But that came also with a long wish list of things that you would like to see more of. Funding support, technology support, marketing support, things we can do to really lift up the learning model so that the impact that it's having and the recognition for the name Clubhouse that goes along with that are better perceived. More partnerships, such as the one with Best Buy. Representation of non-US clubhouses in the network, such as through the board and through funding. And again, many more things that came from the survey that you'll see in the document that comes out early next week that you can review at your leisure. But in the interest of time, I want to just quickly fast forward to where all of this leads us in terms of how we're looking at the next 5 years in terms of strategic priorities. And it grossly, oversimplifies basically into two things. One is breadth and the other is depth. And what I mean by breadth is that when we look at what the next 5 years are going to hold for us, we're looking at close to doubling the number of sites that we have out there. And in doing that, we need to really be thinking, and this is what I mean by depth, about how we ensure that the Clubhouse journey that every young person has with us is intentional and involves a continuum of Clubhouse experience so that they're prepared for that workplace that all of you predicted they will go out into, with all of both the challenges that it has and the opportunities. So I'm just going to say just a little bit about both the growth and depth, or the breadth and depth dimensions on the previous page. So the math on this, how do we see ourselves getting to 175 sites or more in the next 5 years? A lot of that growth will be fueled by Best Buy, which has made a commitment. The pace of that growth may slow a bit, but we're really looking at potentially, close to 40 additional Best Buy Teen Tech Centers in the United States, Mexico, and Canada in the coming years. And what we have seen is that, more, as I mentioned earlier, the more success there is, the more success there is. And so as name recognition grows, as people see the impact of the clubhouses on the teen tech centers in their local communities, we will expand even further. There'll be kind of a multiplier effect around this growth. And it probably goes without saying, but growth has implications and it has challenges associated with it. And so some of the things that we're thinking about are, how do we keep the close feel of the network in spite of the growth that we're going to be experiencing, and in spite of the larger size that we're going to have? How do we maintain quality? How do we make sure we're not diluting, who we are as we continue to grow? How do we find additional support for clubhouses that have needs, and make sure that we're focusing on quality as well as quantity, and not leaving anyone behind as we grow? How do we make sure we're strengthening the infrastructure so that we have the resources that you need and that the network needs in order to accommodate this capacity? So just an example on that, one of the things that's underway is a redesign of the Clubhouse Village, which we're hoping to complete by September or October of this year, so that young people have a portal kind of similar to Clubhouse Connect. And again, who would have thought how important this would be in light of the current circumstances we find ourselves in, but how great it'll be to have a global Clubhouse Village that's current and up to date and fresh, and has the functionality that all of you have been asking for, frankly, for many years. And how do we also ensure that the learning model more than keeps pace with technology as it continues to advance? And how do we increase inclusivity and equity across the network? So these are just some of the things that we're beginning to think about as we think about what the implications for growth are going to look like, and as we build out the set of priorities associated with this in the coming over the coming 5 years. And then in terms of the continuum of Clubhouse experience. So this is that depth dimension. So what I mean by this is, looking more intentionally at a Clubhouse member who comes into our Clubhouse or comes through our Clubhouse doors, maybe at the age of 12 or 13 or 14. How can we be more intentional about ensuring that they are introduced to youth leadership opportunities? One of the terms that we're thinking about is step up youth leadership opportunities that might involve being in charge of the music studio, or being a teen intern, or providing kind of peer-to-peer mentorship for younger Clubhouse members. Perhaps representing the Clubhouse on a youth leadership council, or representing, being an ambassador for your Clubhouse with prospective new members or with funders. I know many of you are already doing this, but what we're looking to do is to provide more intentional leadership opportunities, and potentially to provide some funding to help support things like that, both locally in your clubhouses and on an international level. So whether that's an international youth leadership council, or as young people kind of graduate or turn 18 or 19, ensuring that C2C pathways or Clubhouse to Career pathways opportunity is available, and that alumni have the kind of engagement with your Clubhouse and with the Clubhouse network over time that really helps to promote more leadership out in the workplace and in the workforce, so that we really ensure that Clubhouse members get the experience that they need with us, so that they can meet their full potential in the world that waits for them outside our four doors. Our Teen Summit, I mentioned, we're looking to postpone till 2021. We're on we hope, the final stages of confirming that. But this theme associated with Teen Summit 2021 now around designing our future, changing our world, is really associated with this idea of the Clubhouse Continuum, and really ensuring that we're helping to advance young people through their experience in the Clubhouse and beyond. So I know this notion of Clubhouse Continuum is both new, in that we haven't used that term before, but also very much present in many of your clubhouses. And so I'm going to invite us in a few minutes to go back into breakout rooms. I think we're likely to be in different rooms than we were in before. So I'll ask everyone quickly to share your name, your clubhouse, and your location. But what I'd really love to invite you to have a conversation about is, either what are you doing now in your clubhouse that supports this notion of youth leadership, a trajectory of youth leadership, or a continuum of youth leadership within your clubhouse and beyond? Or what ideas do you have for better supporting youth along that continuum? Whether they're ideas that you might be able to implement in your own clubhouse, or ideas that the network might be able to help you implement. So I'm going to leave this up as kind of a placeholder for us as we break into these rooms. And I think we'll have, once again, around 5 minutes in these breakout rooms for some conversation around this topic, and other thoughts you might have around this dimension of how to support youth along the Clubhouse continuum that we want to encourage them along. And so I'll invite Brendan again to break us into rooms, and it's a little bit potluck. We'll see who we all end up with, and we'll be there for about 5 minutes. Well, great to see all of you, and some people I hadn't seen that were on the call from before. So yeah, I'd love to just open it up, and we can try to have some large group conversation. I think we do have something like 60+ people on. So again, if you aren't speaking, if you could mute. But if you'd like to share something either from your small breakout room around this, whether it's a question or an idea or a comment, I'd love to hear from you, and I can help kind of moderate to make sure we don't end up talking over each other. Anyone have anything they'd like to share from their conversation? Yeah, Cassie. Oh, Cassie's raising her hand. Awesome. I forgot to mention that there's that,
Can raise your
that
hand.
feature here.
Yeah, I just shared in my breakout room one of the things we're doing for Continuum for our alumni. I mean, again, we haven't started yet, but we're very much planning, very, very much planning with partners. So one big partner is a company called Code District. They do very high level software engineering. And they've agreed to reserve 40 to 50% of their seats specifically for our alumni. So that means that it's about a $15,000 scholarship per student that can go into this very high level programming straight from our, our center to them. And, more programs like that. But that's probably one of the first, and some others in film, and some, just looking to get those like scholarships so they can kind of move directly from our center into like a higher, more structured learning.
Great, thank you. I noticed we're almost at the top of the hour, so I know a lot of us are home, but people may have other calls they have to get on or places they need to go. So if you do need to drop off, feel free. If you can stay on for a few more minutes, I'd love to kind of continue the conversation for a bit longer. If you do need to go, thank you for having joined us, and we'll follow up more around all of this in the coming weeks. Anyone else have anything they'd like to share? And I'd also just, when you start sharing, if you could also say where you're from. So I'll do that on behalf of Cassie, because I see she's muted again, but Cassie's from Vermont, Slauson in Los Angeles. Any other comments, thoughts, questions, reactions, complaints?
So I'll mention really quick, Gail, this is Jazz McDaniel from Wilson Gray Best Buy Teen Tech Center in Hartford, Connecticut. I know with everything that's going on right now, a lot of work on our end is engaging our members collectively throughout the Greater Hartford YMCA. So one of the things that I'm being tasked with is coming up with some ways to interact with our members and the YMCA as a whole. So one of the things that I'm looking to do is develop a drawing program where I'll provide a video demonstration of how to draw a character of your choice, depending on what gets voted the most or whatever it may be. And then also provide step-by-steps where they can follow and attempt to draw. And then we're trying to work on developing like a Twitch channel for the YMCA to do a live interactive session where I can also give feedback to any participants who submit work and so forth. So once we figure that out, we'll look at the possibility of opening it up to anyone who's interested, as well as our members.
Great, thanks, Jazz. So I see some people have raised their hands, but I can't see who they are. Just someone who raised their hand want to speak. I'm not sure where to find that on here.
Hey everyone, my name is Hafsa. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, hi Hafsa.
I'm from Portland, Oregon, and our grand opening was in January, so we've been open for a few months now. And I have a question for people that have recently joined the network or don't really have a lot of regulars, or they do have kind of like collected kind of like an email list for all the youth that do attend their Clubhouse. How are y'all connecting with them? How are y'all like engaging with them? What are kind of, I don't know, the best practices? Because we do have a few regulars, but I don't know what the best way to connect with them is. We have their emails, but like, I don't know, it just kind of feels weird to me, like engaging with them on an email, just saying, hey, like, I'll let somebody else talk for a second.
I actually have an answer for that. This is Brittany from Gold Crown in Denver. So for us as a staff, like we have a lot of our kids on Instagram or Facebook. So we've been doing Instagram and Facebook lives. And I just did mine today, and I had at least 21 plus people on it. It was awesome. So I think just maybe reach out on social media, because a lot of the kids may not have internet. So reaching out via social media, they're probably posting their quarantine selfies or, whatever. So maybe reaching out to them on their social media platforms might be a good idea. And maybe if you email them, since you have that email list, email them, be like, hey, we're starting this Instagram or this Facebook, and I would love to chat with you and, connect better. Because even though we're supposed to be socially distancing, maybe we can, still emotionally connect via our social media platform. So that's an idea, and we've been doing it, and it's worked out so far. And, of course there's going to be bugs, but it's definitely worth a try.
Thanks, Brittany. Anyone else have any, I know a lot of people have been trying a lot of different things in the last week. Anybody have anything else for Hafsa that they'd like to share?
Yeah, I have some info. Omar from Panama. What we tried to do when we started dealing with this pandemic was, for one reason or another, they all had my phone number. So they made like a group in WhatsApp. And I'm continually asking them like how they're doing, how they're dealing with everything. Because right now they started school like 1 week before everything happened. And mostly what we're doing is like giving them activities or stuff to do, because I know some of them have like a lot of schoolwork that they have to do, and some of them really don't have anything to do. And just trying to be there. So if you have their emails or any other way to contact them, try to do it. Maybe if you don't have anything for them to do, like any project that comes to mind that they might be able to do at home, just it's helpful for them to just be there for them. Like ask them how they're doing, worrying about them. It's really important.
Yeah, thanks, Omar. I think we could have a whole like virtual hour around, around that question, Hafsa, and maybe we will schedule one of those for, next week. Hopefully that helps, just getting you started for this week. Other thoughts around the continuum, or anything else that folks would like to bring up in our last few moments around that? Something to share from your breakout?
Hi, I don't know how to raise my hand. One group that has been reaching out to me that we are trying to integrate now is our college freshmen, who all unceremoniously landed back home in the middle of their semester. They didn't have a chance to say goodbye to their friends. They don't know when they're going to see their college friends again. And they are our alumni who are feeling very isolated now, and we're all under stay-at-home orders. So we're trying to incorporate them in Zoom meetings, and we use group meet chats. Also, a lot of us are Boys and Girls Clubs, and we have very strict guidelines on how to interact with kids in terms of one-to-one contact or social media, and consent forms that need to be received by parents.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks, Janet. That actually really kind of blends a little bit the sort of current circumstances with that notion of continuum, as we think about, is there a moment we can seize, like right now, related to that outreach to alumni who, whether they're first years or second years, or potentially themselves feeling very isolated and disconnected. Great point. Final thoughts from anyone? Anyone else, either from your breakout group or beyond? Well, it's so nice. It's getting a little late here on the East Coast, so I feel like I should let everyone go, but it's also just so nice to see all of you, and it's hard to say goodbye. not to sound too sappy, but let us know what you thought of this, and if it's something that you'd like to see us do on a regular basis, and if there are topics beyond the obvious that you would like to see addressed, so we all can stay in community with each other and stay connected. We'd love to do that and organize those on your behalf. So thank you again for participating and for all that you're doing, and stay safe and healthy, everyone. And we'll get through this together, and we will live for a brighter day. So thank you all. Have a good evening.